Hello and welcome to polyplane.com. Have you ever seen a wood lathe work? This is all you need to really know about revolving, honestly. Nah, just kidding. So I would call revolving a cousin of extruding. You still have a control curve that you're using and you are extruding it. You're just extruding it around a central pivot point. The same way they kind of do wood turning. Or if you've never seen wood turning happen, maybe a potter's wheel. Ever see the movie Ghost? That kind of thing. You have your material and it's turning and you're cutting into it. Only it kind of works in reverse. So in 3D programs, there's a tool that's usually either called Revolve or Lathe. What happens is, let's say you have a curve represented by this black line and you want to revolve it. You pick a central pivot point. So this red line is going to make that pivot point. If I were to revolve it 180 degrees along that pivot point, the end result would look like this. It would be half of one revolution along that pivot point. If I were to go 360 degrees, my control curve would make one complete revolution around that pivot point. This is the basic idea behind revolving or lathing your curve in 3D space. I recommend in the Rhino work environment building whatever your control curve is here, indicated in yellow, along one of the axes that you want to revolve it around. I also recommend drawing out a line from 0 straight up. So if you look in the perspective window, here's what it'll look like. The reason I do this is I like to have something to snap to, and I don't really like to mess around with the numbers too much. I just like to know that there's some central pivot point. So by giving myself a curve, I know that I can snap to that curve and make everything work. So if I select my curve and I type revolve, it's going to ask me for a start of the revolve axis. Well, I'm going to pick my line, hold shift and drag down, and that's going to create that pivot point. Now it's asking me for a start angle. So I type 0. It's asking me what sort of revolution angle to give it. So I'm going to do 180 just so you can see what the shell looks like. So from this view, you can see that it's a hollow shape with nothing really going on the inside at 180 degrees. So from this angle, let's look at what 360 degrees looks like. So now our control line has been revolved along a central pivot point to create this three-dimensional object. I'm going to create an additional line so you can see what this might look like if I had a wall thickness. Alright, so I took a little pause there and created a curve that has some sort of thickness to it. And now I'm going to revolve this along that same axis. And now you can see there's a little bit of a wall thickness going on. I'm actually going to go ahead and redo this at 180 so you can really see what's going on here. So look at this. At 180 degrees, you can see there's a wall thickness there. So in order to get this closed off, what I'm going to do to give it a solid wall thickness, I'll just revolve it at 180 degrees and then select it and type cap. And what that'll do is just close it off. So now you've got this shape that can be, used, I guess, for a atom bomb or some sort of weird lamp or something. But it gives you a good idea of how whatever your shape is, when you revolve it along a central pivot point, the end result will essentially be an extrusion around that pivot. Now, I'd like to show you what that same shape does if I move it out a little bit and I select the same axis. You can see there's a dramatic difference in the size. This is because it's like you're turning it on a wood lathe. Depending on how far out your piece is, or your cutting tool, I guess, from that central pivot point is going to determine what that diameter is going to be. So you really got to keep that in mind when you're creating your shape. It's very easy to have bad proportions on your revolve if you're not thinking ahead of time. If you're trying to model from real life, I highly recommend using a ruler or some calipers or some sort of gauge to just get a good measurement of what it is you're making, because proportions are everything, whether you're drawing or modeling. So that's an overview of how the Revolve tool works. And in upcoming videos, we're going to be using this tool a lot to create custom profiles, and then we might go back and trim parts out to really start to understand how basic shapes are created. The next few videos will be on Boolean operations, and we're going to take some of these revolves that we've created and start to cut them up and do neat sort of things with them using those. So have a great day, and thanks for watching.